I think that the biggest takeaway from the women's conference for me personally was finding my influential voice, figuring out what it is that kind of inspires me and how I can pass that along to others that I work with and even just out in the world in general.
The session that stood out most to me was the woman who runs City Creek Center. She said that she looked up her company's values for leadership on their website before she came to speak to a bunch of women, and said they were technical and masculine, and she didn't think that any of them were right. So she threw them out and she made her own list. And she had a list of qualities that I think all of us have innately as women, and she also had several things to work on, like eschew perfectionism, like, you know, don't sweat the small stuff. There's a lot of things that as women we tend to focus on details, and that when you're in a leadership position you don't need to. You can let someone else worry about the details, you worry about the relationships. I think that was probably the most impactful session that I went to.
I really liked how it really spoke to how important relationships are, and they talked a lot about body language being very important and how that's more important even than the words that you're saying, the way that you're presenting things, and yeah, it was really interesting overall.
My favorite part was the Athena Awards luncheon, and hearing from the Athena Award winner that it was really neat that she was the first woman to do a surgical round at the UVU, and that she was local, and to understand her story and just to hear from another woman pioneer.
I loved Linda Warbell. She was the general manager of City Creek. And something that really stood out is she talked about being authentic and finding those things that make you strong as a woman and as an individual, and instead of, a lot of times women can be looked at as weak in the workplace, but using those same things as being nurturing and listening and building relationships to really empower you and make it stronger and make your company more successful because you use that side.
I think it was a recurring theme that came up at the conference, but particularly the first speaker, the West Point graduate, kind of emphasized the idea of never giving up and always trying new things. Like, don't be afraid to fail at something. Her trying out for the Olympic bobsled team at like 35, you know, and then writing a book and running for Congress. So like all these things that she was willing to try, even though she didn't succeed at some of them. And that had come up through a couple of the other conferences too. The group breakouts, just always trying something new and putting your all into it no matter what happens.
Very inspired by Linda Warbell. I remember thinking even later on that week how in awe and inspired I was by her speech when she was saying, don't be afraid to hire people who are smarter and better than you. And I thought, wow, really, someone in that position and her credentials, and she said it was such posture. Hire people that are smarter and better. And I thought, wow, that's pretty awe-inspiring.
I think it was nice to learn about never giving up. I mean, we always hear that, and it was nice to hear from people who have followed that advice and have gone through it and can give examples of how they did it and how that impacted their lives.
It came from Linda Wardle. She's the GM for City Creek Center. And she said something that stuck out to me. She said, I might not always be the smartest person in the room, but I'm always the most prepared. And that stuck out to me because I feel like if you're prepared, you can be confident, regardless of, you know, if you know everything or not.
Well, besides how many great women there are here at ClearLink and how we can be doing a lot more to help each other and support each other, I think my big takeaway from it all, and then I think every speaker spoke to, is at the end of the day, we're in the business of people and of mankind first, and I think ClearLink is built on relationships and people, and I think we, more than anyone else, can demonstrate that to each other. So people, that's our business.